What's up, everybody? It's the Alex Leak and Friends NFL podcast back for another week. I'm going to call this a 2018 preseason week one. I'm your host, Alex Leak. We got the co-host here. I got Stoyo
What's going on?
and Gavin.
This guy.
um, we're gonna look at the AFC this week and predict how we see that going down. What the season holds in store for us. We're going to start off with, which I think all of us have, the New England Patriots winning the AFC East. Stoyo, how do you see the Patriots? What do you see their record being? And do you think they'll get any kind of challenge in that division?
No,
Yeah.
New England's gonna run away with the division once again. I predict they're going to go 13-3. Just another season. Just gonna have easily dominate the East once again. Belichick and Brady win another division. Same story.
Yeah, I've
13.
I've got them at the same record. I got the Patriots going 13-3. What do you think the Patriots are doing, Gavin?
I actually also have them at 13-3 for this year.
Nice.
They lost their two offensive linemen, and they lost some receivers in Amendola and Cooks, Dion Lewis as well. So a lot of weapons around Tom Brady. So they tried to address that by bringing in guys like Jeremy Hill, Jordan Matthews, who they actually just cut, and Cordero Patterson, hoping to resurrect his career. They also addressed the pass rush and their pass defense, so they can hopefully not be as embarrassed as they were during the Super Bowl and make a strong playoff run. They'll definitely get out of the division, no problem. But they're looking to the final game. They're not worried about the first 17 weeks.
Yeah, looking at the Patriots, I like that they drafted Isaiah Wynn. I think that's a good, he could be a good, solid piece for them going forward. Sony Michel at running back could really fit in well there. They also added Rex Burkhead I believe he was on the Bengals. Wide receiver Braxton Berrios out of the U could be good there. And then I like Adrian Claiborne. I don't know if you mentioned him. He had a good year last year. Yeah, I've got the Patriots going 13-3, and I don't have anyone challenging them. I have them running away with the division. Gavin, how do you have the Dolphins doing this year?
I have the Dolphins going 5-11 this year,
Okay.
and finishing third overall in the division. They lost some big pieces. Mike Pouncey on the offensive line, Jarvis Landry, a top 20 receiver, and Ndamukong Suh on defense. And they were able to add some veterans, Frank Gore and Danny Amendola, to help out on offense. Robert Quinn to shore up the edge rushing opposite of Cameron Wake. And they also drafted really well, bringing in Minka Fitzpatrick and Mike Gesicki at tight end.
Mm-hmm.
To try and give the now hopefully not hurt Ryan Tannehill some more weapons to throw at. With Devontae Parker, their first round pick from 3 years ago, kind of not living up to the hype, and so they definitely need to give him as much help as they can. But they do also have Kenyon Drake, who showed a lot of potential there at the last few games of the year when he finally got the starting nod after J.H.I. was sent away to Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'll never understand that Ajayi move. They released Julius Thomas, so getting Mike Gesicki is a good pick. I think he could be a good piece there. Yeah, Amendola, Albert Wilson, a receiver. I agree. Well, first of all, Stoyo, how do you have the Dolphins doing?
I have the Dolphins doing slightly better. I had them going 7-9,
Okay.
and probably Tannehill's last shot.
Yeah.
And I think that the Dolphins are gonna move on from him. He just never really accomplished too much. And yeah, I think the ownership is getting tired with him and they're gonna move away from him after the season, which doesn't bode well for Adam Gase. I
Yeah.
thought Adam Gase was gonna be a little bit more successful, but maybe he's one of those OC that is just much better as an OC than the head coach.
Yeah, I'm
So
with you. I have the Dolphins going 5-11, which is tied for second in the division. And I have here, it's up to Ryan Tannehill, really, and Adam Gase. If Gase can get the most out of Tannehill, if he can stay healthy. They don't really have a good backup behind Tannehill. Um, so, and yeah, if Tannehill doesn't live up to expectations this year, I agree. I would think Gase would be out the window, out the door. You think Gase? You think if the Dolphins go around 5-11, Gavin, you think Gase is fired?
Yeah, I think so. They'll likely be looking at a new quarterback, like Stoyo mentioned, and they're typically not going to keep a new coach or an old coach for a new quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So I could definitely see them moving on from him. If this will be his third year, and he hasn't had a whole lot of success during his whole time there, so I see them moving on from him if they struggle again this year.
Yeah. Tied for second, I have the New York Jets going 5-11. I think it's a big year for. Well, they're rebuilding. I think they drafted Sam Darnold, so they got to be happy about that. They just want to see, some signs of potential out of Darnold. They want to see what he can do. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly he gets on the field in New York and what he brings. Stoyo, where do you have the Jets finishing?
I have the Jets going 8-8.
Okay.
Over second in the division, and I just think that Sam Darnold is gonna play most of their games.
Mm-hmm.
And with that said, that is just going to improve the entire team, and you're gonna get to 500 for the first time in a long time. I'm a fan of their head coach, and I'm a fan of some of their defensive players. I wanted the Bears to draft that safety last year, but the Jets ended up getting Jamal Adams.
Yep, Jamal Adams. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it to be, like I said. So 8-8, the Jets are turning it around slowly but surely.
Are you saying that Darnold's going to get some decent playing time this year? Are you worried that it might take a little bit for him to get on the field with quarterback Josh McCown and then Teddy Bridgewater as well on the roster?
I'm not that worried about Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
Josh McCown is like the ultimate pro and the ultimate bridge QB. And if he plays the first 4 games and then lets Darnold take over, I think that would be great for the Jets.
Yeah, that'd probably be ideal. What do you think about the Jets, Gavin?
I've got them going 6-10 this year.
Okay.
I actually don't think that they'll play Darnold as soon as what Stoyer was saying. They don't have a great offensive line, and they don't have great weapons for Darnold to work with. And I think that they might want to keep him back a little bit longer, just so that they don't ruin him with trying to throw him out there and expect him to win games with not great blocking and not great weapons to throw to or be able to hand the ball off. But they've got big question marks really at every single skill position on offense. Who's the starting running back? Every guy that's there is guys that have lost out jobs to people that you thought that they wouldn't have. Guys like Isaiah Crowell and Thomas Rawls. Bilal Powell's been there for years and has never been given a full workload. And then you've got receivers like Terrell Pryor, who had a really down year last year after a big year before. Robbie Anderson, we don't know if he's going to even be playing. And then guys like Quincy Enunwa and Jermaine Kearse have never really shown number one receiver potential. So for those reasons, I don't think they're going to put Sam Darnold out there as soon, because they have a quarterback that can play, and unfortunately Josh McCown's used to playing in these kinds of situations, and so they might be willing to wait on putting Darnold out there with a better team down the road.
I actually agree with you on this. I think that if you're the Jets, I think that ownership and management are thinking, I don't think they're as high on Todd Bowles as some are, and I think that they want a quarterback guru coach for Sam Darnold. So it wouldn't surprise me one bit if they took a while to bring Darnold in. You can use McCown as many games as you want. He's a very serviceable guy. You got guys like Jermaine Kearse and Terrell Pryor from the throw to, but I think they take their time with Darnold. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Jets go like 5-11 and replace Todd Bowles at the end of the year with an offensive-minded coach. But that's just my prediction. We'll see. And then lastly, in the AFC East, I got the Buffalo Bills bringing up the bottom, going 4-12. How do you have the Bills going, Gavin?
It's like we copied notes. I also have them going 4-12 this year.
Nice.
They lost a lot of big people in the offseason. They lost 3 veteran offensive linemen. And then they also lost Tyrod Taylor and cornerback E.J. Gaines, who was a crucial part of their defense being what it was able to be last year. And the guys that they brought in have a lot of question marks around them. Vontae Davis has been injured and has been played up to his potential over the last few years. They brought in A.J. McCarron and drafted Josh Allen, who a lot of draft pundits was considering the biggest project of the top 4 quarterbacks in the draft. A.J. McCarron's only started a handful of games.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of question marks there, on offense. And then their defense, I think, is going to have to really step it up over the next over this year in order for them to, just like they did last year, but I don't think their offense can be able to carry them, especially if LaShawn McCoy isn't able to play this season. The jury's still out on that whole situation.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Bills do. I think they're just, I don't know. I mean, I thought they had a good thing going last year. They get to the playoffs for the first time in a long-ass time. Tyrod Taylor had a pretty good year despite getting benched at one point. But I just don't see them having much success, especially at quarterback position where you got A.J. McCarron and Josh Allen. Allen's going to have a learning curve for sure, and I don't know if McDermott or if, McCarron really fits the Buffalo system that well. How do you have the Bills going, Gavin? Or Stoyo, sorry?
I have the Bills going 5-11.
Okay.
And as you guys said, I just don't see them having anywhere close to the success that they had last season. Buffalo took 20 years to build a 9-7 team.
And then they just tear it down. Yeah.
A win record for a season, and now they're going back down. And I think drafting Josh Allen is a mistake. I said it before they even drafted him. I don't know. I'm not a believer, and I guess he's going to have to prove me wrong, but I just don't see it. 5-11.
Yeah. I will say I like 2 draft picks the Bills got this year. I like Harrison Phillips at defensive tackle out of Stanford, and I like wide receiver Ray McLeod out of Clemson. So they're young, and we'll see. But I mean, if they go 4-12, if they have a bad record like we predicted, do you think McDermott keeps his job one more year, or he's gone?
He probably is going to keep him one more. He's the only Buffalo head coach to make the playoffs, and who knows how long. So
Yeah.
This being his second season, usually you want to give a head coach more than 2 seasons, at least 3, ideally 4.
Yeah. If Buffalo plays it right, they don't always do that. Let's switch to the AFC North now. So we've all agreed the Patriots are probably going to run away with the AFC East. Let's switch to the AFC North. I have, let's start with Stoyo. Who do you have winning the North?
I have the Steelers.
Okay.
They down by going 11-5. I have Le'Veon Bell signing a contract somehow at the wake of the beginning of the season, and he comes in and dominates. AB is doing great. Roethlisberger, I think, wants another shot at Super Bowl, so he's going to have another good season, and I see them going at least 11-5.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a hungry Roethlisberger this year. Just last year he kept talking about retirement. Then the team goes out and drafts Mason Rudolph out of Oklahoma State, and suddenly he wants to play for 3 to 4 more years. Gavin, what do you think of the Steelers?
I also have the Steelers winning the division with an 11-5 record.
Nice.
Their offense is going to be potent just like it was last year, even though they don't have Todd Haley running the offense anymore. It might actually be a little bit better, especially with guys like Juju Smith-Schuster having another year under his belt, Dance McDonald another year working with Ben Roethlisberger, and they spent a second-round pick on James Washington to be their number 3 receiver in the wake of Dez Bryant getting traded to Oakland. So they've got a really good offensive line now to keep Ben upright. Their defensive line is solid, and their secondary is great. The big question mark, and we saw this last year when Ryan Shazier went out, was their being able to stop the run and being able to defend tight ends up the middle was a struggle for them in the wake of his injury. So that'll be the key thing, I think, for the Pittsburgh this year to really make a run, is whether they can shore up the inside of their defense there, and also keeping Roethlisberger upright. He's missed 7 games over the last 3 years, which isn't a lot, but I actually can't even tell you who their backup is because it would be such a drop.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I feel like I'm on the same path. I got the Steelers winning the division, going 11-5. I feel like it's a big year for Mike Tomlin. He's coming off, last time we saw Tomlin coach, he pretty much just messed up the game against the Jaguars with his play calling. So hopefully he's learned from that. Hopefully, on 4th and shorts, they decide to quarterback sneak it going forward, and hopefully the Steelers turn it around. They're definitely worried about their safety position. They drafted 2 safeties, Terrell Edmonds and Marcus Allen, trying to address that. I agree with you, Gavin. James Washington is a guy to look out for. He could really fit in well with this offense. And yeah, I got them winning the division at 11-5. Let's see here, Gavin. Who do you have finishing second in the North?
I have the Baltimore Ravens finishing second in the North with a 7-9 record.
Okay.
For me, which surprised me after they went 9-7 last year with what I feel like is an inferior team. But after looking at their matchups, I still feel like they were going to drop for a couple reasons. They definitely shored up their receiving core, which is a big problem last year, getting guys like Michael Crabtree, John Brown, and Willie Snead, who have had success in the league. But you've got guys like Michael Crabtree, who's going to be 31 this season. So, Father Time eventually catches up with these guys. John Brown's been hurt. He's been plugged with injuries his entire career. So hopefully, for his sake, he can stay on the field because he's definitely talented. And Willie Snead's a good receiver, but he was never able to really break free and show anything extraordinary when you have Drew Brees throwing to you. That's a little bit worrisome. But they got some guys to help Joe Flacco out, who has been more proactive this offseason, trying to work with his team and his receivers in the wake of them spending a first-round pick and moving up to get Lamar Jackson. So I think that Flacco will likely struggle this year again, and then moving to Lamar Jackson, I think there's going to be a learning curve for him as well. And that's why I feel like they're going to be a little bit worse this year. But it'll be for the better in the long run.
Nice. What do you have? What do you think of the Ravens, Stoyo?
I had the Ravens going 9-7. The repeat of last year. I actually do like the receivers that they got. I'm a fan of Will Snead.
Yeah.
And had 2 pretty decent seasons, in my opinion. He had one season that was close to 900 yards, and I recall he was maybe like 10 yards short of a 1,000-yard season, while not being like even the second option on that team. So I think could be like a sneaky ad right there. And Flacco now has pressure since Lamar Jackson was signed or drafted. So Flacco's gonna try to have at least another push into the playoff. And he's a Super Bowl MVP, so he's still proud, has a ring. So I could see them going 9-7 or so, but yeah, I don't see them making too much of a noise this season.
Yeah, I'm with you, Stoyo. I have the Ravens going 9-7, a repeat of last year. I do think that the pressure is on Flacco. I think he's going to feel it with them drafting Lamar Jackson. And I actually think that he's going to have a good year. I mean, I'm a Flacco fan, so I'm always optimistic on him, but I do like their draft pick at 25, tight end Hayden Hurst. I think that when Flacco's had his best success in the NFL, he's had a good, reliable tight end like Dennis Pitta, good pass-catching tight end. So I think Hayden Hurst can be a really good fit there. And then you got a deep threat like John Brown if he can stay healthy. And so hopefully the Ravens can get it done, maybe sneak into the playoffs at 9-7. Then I've got the Bengals finishing third in the division at 5-11. Um, what do you think of the Bengals, Stoyo?
I have the Bengals at going 6-10.
Okay.
I'm not a believer in them. I don't know why they re-signed the same coach that they had for like forever. At some point, you have to realize that he's not gonna get you past a certain level, and also since he's gonna have to realize that Dalton is not the answer. And you have a great player in AJ Green, but that's not enough to win constantly. And I'm just not a believer in Cincy this year.
So, Stoyo, I think the talent on the Bengals roster is good enough to win games and compete in a division. What do you think's the biggest thing holding them back? Is it Marvin Lewis at head coach, or is it Sam Dalton or Andy Dalton at quarterback?
I really don't know what the issue is over there.
Yeah.
It's been like a few seasons where he's been like slightly above 500 or something like that. Just not doing anything special, just being average. You're just not gonna get anywhere that way. Maybe you should try to rebuild completely because this team is just not working.
Yeah. And I don't know what Dalton's excuse is when you got a number one weapon like AJ Green. Gavin, what do you see the Bengals doing this year?
I have the Bengals going 7-9 this year.
Okay.
They've got some talent on the offense that's going to be coming back from last year. You've got Tyler Eifert, who now is healthy and hopefully can stay healthy for a whole year this time around. They also have John Ross, who had some injuries last year. He was the 9th overall pick last year, and he had more rushing attempts than he had catches, which was 0 last year. So you can only assume that that will improve because his name's not Kevin White. Then you've got Joe Mixon with another year, and now you don't have Jeremy Hill there clogging things up. You can give the rock to Joe Mixon and have Giovanni Bernard be the receiving back. So you also got guys like Cody Glenn coming in to help on the offensive line, protecting Dalton's blind side. So I think the offense should improve this year with the guys who are healthy and adding some help on the offensive line. And their defense is solid. They've got some really good cornerbacks in William Jackson, Darqueze Dennard, Drake Kirkpatrick. You've got really good defensive line, guys like Carlos Dunlap and Geno Atkins putting pressure on the quarterback, and a lot of potential even with some of their younger guys. Carl Lawson had 8 sacks last year, so maybe he can push Michael Johnson out of the way to get some playing time. The big concern on defense is Avontes Burfict. He'll be missing the first 4 games with suspension, but when he's back, he's an amazing player. The talent is unquestionable. Just makes some poor decisions when he's on the field sometimes.
Yeah, I agree, and I'll reiterate that Joe Mixon. I think that if he gets the carries and gets in a rhythm, he could have a good year, and that could help the offense a little bit and make them a little bit better. Off the field issues aside, I like Joe Mixon as a running back. So we'll see, but yeah, I got them going 5-11. None of us have them going very high or even above 500. Stoyo, where do you have the Cleveland Browns going in this division?
I have the Browns staying at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
You're just comfortable there. They're gonna go 4-12, and I guess Hugh Jackson is gonna tell his owner, "Well, that's improvement. We won 4 games this season. So somehow he's gonna get another 2 years. I just don't understand how you still have a job after going 1-31.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I don't know. I don't know what to expect out of Cleveland. What do you think, Gavin?
Yeah, I have them going 5-11, and Hugh Jackson will get his very first win on a Sunday. The one win that he has was not on a Sunday game. So
Wow.
in the NFL, he does not have a single win on a Sunday after coaching for 2 years, which is pretty nuts. But I think that they were really active this offseason. They did lose some quality players. Joe Thomas retired, which is a really big deal. They lost Jason McCourty, cornerback, and Danny Shelton, both of those guys going to the Patriots. But they also brought in a lot of really talented guys that should make the team a lot better than they were. You got Tyrod Taylor as a quarterback, an underrated quarterback, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he'll actually play the majority of the year. For a lot of the same reasons I said for Josh McCown, giving some time for Baker Mayfield to get adjusted to the NFL, and also let them build a team around him before throwing him into a dumpster fire. They also got guys like Carlos Hyde, Jarvis Landry, cornerback E.J. Gaines to help out on defense to replace Jason McCourty. You've got Josh Gordon, Jarvis Landry, and Corey Coleman now are your 3 wide receivers, which is really good if Coleman can stay healthy and Josh Gordon can stay on the field. And David Njoku's a talented tight end that showed a lot of flashes of brilliance last year. So their offense could be pretty good if their quarterback can play up to their a decent level, which I think Taylor definitely can, and Mayfield, you know how I feel about him. We'll see though.
Yeah, Cleveland's interesting. You brought up the receivers they have: Landry, Josh Gordon, Corey Coleman, Antonio Callaway in the draft. There's been rumors of late of free agent wide receiver Dez Bryant possibly joining that team this offseason. Do you think that would be a good fit for the Browns at all? Do you think that would help them win any games, or do you think that's a bad idea, Gavin?
I don't think it's a good idea. Dez, I believe this offseason has mentioned he only wants to go to a contender.
Mm-hmm.
And despite what Jarvis Landry says, they're not going to be a contender this year. So I think that given, especially Dez Bryant's his attitude towards people over the last few weeks, last month or so, if you go into a situation where Tyrod Taylor is your quarterback who isn't known for being someone to air it out a bunch, and you've got guys like Carlos Hyde and Nick Chubb at running back who can, Duke Johnson as well. So you're going to be actively using the tight ends, the running backs, and then you've got a relatively deep receiving core going on. And then you add an aging Dez Bryant, who I think can still be effective, but not nearly who he was before. I think that's just a bad mix. So if I were the Browns organization, I would avoid him.
Yeah. What do you think, Stoyo? Do you think the same thing?
Yeah, pretty much. I agree with what Gavin said.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of Dez Bryant, he was in the news this week. He got brought up, he was on social media, and he saw it, and he responded through Twitter, talking about former teammates and former owner there in Dallas. Quote, Jerry was the only one who was clueless. Shit was planned to get me out. Ask Travis Frederick and my brother, Sean Lee. Another Dez quote, here we go with that scapegoat shit. I charged everything to the game and went the other way. Y'all know what the real problem is. Don't put it on me with that bullshit. Garbage ass play calling. Everybody lined up in the same spot for 17 weeks. Stoyo, do you agree with any of that? Do you think Dez Bryant has a point with Cowboys play calling, or is he just spouting off?
I think he is butting off, but he does have some points.
Yeah.
About play calling. I was never a huge fan of Jason Garrett. I don't find him to be that good of a coach at all. I'm surprised he's still hired in Dallas. I think he still has a job because he's a yes man and pretty much doesn't give Jerry Jones any BS. and I know Jerry wants to control everything. So it must be very difficult to be the Dallas Cowboys head coach.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, Dez is not helping himself either because he probably has one more NFL contract in him, but not when you're going to war on Twitter.
Yeah.
I think the Ravens were rumored to offer him the 3-year, $21 million contract or something like that.
But he turned it down.
But he turned it down. I think just about now he'd love to have that contract back.
Yeah. And Antonio Brown also tweeted for Dez Bryant to come join him in Pittsburgh. So I'm sure Dez Bryant will be on a team this year. Just we'll wait and see who. Gavin, let's switch to the AFC South. Who do you have taking down that division?
I've got the Houston Texans winning that division this year.
Ooh, I like it.
We saw how dynamic their offense was when Deshaun Watson was playing and was healthy. You've got DeAndre Hopkins in there, who I think it could be argued is the best receiver in the NFL. You've got Will Fuller there as well, who caught I think 7 touchdowns in 5 games or something when Watson was there. It was pretty nuts. And then on top of that, you've got J.J. Watts and Whitney Merciless back healthy. Jadeveon Clowney is in a contract year, and been a lot of rumors about him and his work ethic being really great this year. And then you also add Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, to the safety position for that team. So you've got a really dominant-looking defense on top of a really dynamic-looking offense. I think it's going to be really hard to beat this team, any given week. So I've got them going from 4-12 to 12-4.
Nice. Yeah, look out for the Texans this year. Deshaun Watson coming off of ACL surgery, but he was, electric. He was so much fun to watch when healthy, and I hope that we get to see the same thing from him this year, and he can stay healthy throughout the whole year. I would add Aaron Colvin as well, another addition to the defense at corner. What do you see the Texans? What was the record you had for the Texans this year, Gavin?
12-4.
Oh, damn! All right. How do you have the Texans finishing, Stoyo?
I actually kind of am on the same kind of thought as Gavin is. I also have them winning the South, but not at 12-4. I have them winning at 10-6. They were 4-12 last season. But having Deshaun Watson back healthy for a full season with DeAndre Hopkins would be great, and I can definitely see a lot improvement on the defense if everyone is healthy. But I would like to say that DeAndre is not the best receiver. I would have to say that Julio, who has 4 consecutive seasons of 1,400 yards or more, is the best wide receiver in the NFL.
I think it's close. I think Hopkins is arguably, he's in that conversation. I would say Antonio Brown might be the best receiver in the game on numbers alone, but I think it's 1A and 1B, Julio Jones and Antonio Brown.
I'd like to see DeAndre Hopkins with a real quarterback, and this might be his first season with first full season with a real quarterback, and he's put up 1,500 yards, 1,400 yards, double-digit touchdowns with garbage quarterbacks. So that's why I feel like there's potential for him to be the best, because Deshaun Watson is a lot better than Brian Hoyer, Ryan Mallett,
Tom Savage, yeah,
those kinds of guys.
Yep.
And then you got AB having Matt Ryan. Julio's got Matt Ryan. AB's got Big Ben. Odell Beckham's got Eli. So now I think DeAndre Hopkins is poised to have a huge year if Deshaun Watson can stay on the field.
Yep. And let's not forget, of course, Jarvis Landry bringing in all those catches.
Top 20 receiver.
All right, the Houston Texans, for me, I have them tied for second in the division at 9-7. I am a little concerned with Deshaun Watson coming off an ACL injury. I hope he's 100%, and I will definitely be looking forward to watching them play, though. I have the Jacksonville Jaguars bringing home the AFC South once again with a record of 10-6. I think it gets tougher. I think that teams are out to beat them this year. They're not going to sneak up on anybody, and it's really going to come down to if Blake Bortles can protect the ball and play that game managing quarterback. I don't think anyone wants to see him go into gunslinger mode. So I got them going 10-6, winning the division. I like that they drafted wide receiver DJ Chark out of LSU. I think he could be a really good fit there. And I like safety Ronnie Harrison out of Alabama. Let's see, Stoyo, how do you have the Jaguars going this year?
I have the Jaguars falling this year. They
Okay.
were very fortunate last season that Andrew Luck wasn't there, that Deshaun Watson got hurt. So I have the Jags going 7-9,
Okay.
and the Jags made the mistake to re-sign or extend Blake Bortles to have a championship defense. But when you want to bet your championship window on Blake Bortles, it's just not going to happen. Last season, they won a lot of close games, and I think that Blake Bortles will really be exposed this year, and I see them falling to 7-9, unfortunately,
Okay.
because I love that defense, and they're fun to watch.
Yeah, I would say that defense, like you said, is championship level, and I really like Leonard Fournette. He's a beast
Oh,
at
yeah.
the running back position, but it's gonna all be on the shoulders of Blake Bortles. Gavin, how do you see the Jaguars doing?
I have them finishing second this year with the same record as last year at 10-6.
Okay.
I'm actually surprised you guys were as low on them as you were. I thought I was going to be the one that was 3 or 4 wins below what everyone else said. A lot of people are riding the hype train because of how great that defense is, and they also added Andrew Norwell, one of the better guards in the NFL, to help block for Blake Bortles, and more importantly for Leonard Fournette to still be the keystone to this offense. But they also, like you said, drafted DJ Chark, DJ Westbrook, and Keelan Cole have another year, so they can replace Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns, who actually weren't very involved last year. So them going to other teams isn't as big a change for this team as some might think. They also added Austin Seferian-Jenkins, who, when he can be motivated, is a very dynamic tight end. It could be a good weapon for Blake Bortles. So if they can find one of these wide receivers or a couple of them that can really step up and stand out for them, and if they can get guys like Dante Fowler to play up to his potential, and Ronnie Harrison maybe take over for Barry Church at the safety position, you can see a pretty dynamic defense work with a solid offense. As long as Blake Bortles doesn't give away any games, I think this team can still be competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if they can get good play out of Bortles, this team's ceiling is like 13-3 with that defense and that running game. But it just really depends, and I think after the year they had last year, going deep in the playoffs, teams are going to be gunning for them. They're gonna be hard to ignore. Gavin, where do you see the Tennessee Titans finishing?
I have the Tennessee Titans also going 10-6, but because of tiebreakers, I have them going third
Okay.
in the division. The key things are going to be Marcus Mariota this year, I think. Keeping him on the field, keeping him healthy, and helping him grow as a QB is going to be important for them to take the next step forward and be a true competitor in this league. They've made some great upgrades to their team. They added a couple former Patriots in Dion Lewis, a great pass-catching tight end. He can also run between the tackles. They've got Derrick Henry for that. So Dion Lewis can be a great compliment to him. They also added Malcolm Butler, who has been one of the better corners in the league over the last few years. And so if he can play up to that potential, you've got a really great secondary with him and another former Patriot, Logan Ryan, to go with their former Patriot head coach, Mike Vrabel. And then you've also got, obviously, Kevin Byard, one of the best safeties in the league, the anti-Patriots. So they really have a good chance to be competitive this year if they can stop the run, stop the pass, which was one of their biggest struggles this last year.
Yeah, I like what the Titans did this offseason. I like that they brought in Mike Vrabel. They brought in, he's a former Patriot guy. They brought in some Patriot defenders. And I really like their 2 draft picks, Rashaan Evans, linebacker at 22 out of Alabama, and Harold Landry, defensive end out of Boston College at pick number 41. Stoyo, what do you see out of the Titans this year?
I have the Titans going 9-7.
Okay.
I do like some of the moves that they've made, but I'm still not sold 100% on Mike Vrabel as a head coach.
Yeah.
Especially since they really need Mariota to step up. I thought they're gonna get an offensive guru, but yeah, I do like their running back in Derrick Henry. He is exciting to watch, and he warms up as the game gets on and on, so that's always good to have.
Yeah. Yeah, I was with you. I thought they might go offense when they were picking a head coach, but I think that Vrabel, can be a good head coach. We'll see. Yeah, as you said, it all hinges on Mariota staying healthy, protecting the ball, and I expect a jump though in the defense. I expect a decent-sized jump. I expect them to be one of the better defending teams in the league, and that's why I have them tied for second in the division, going 9-7. I think it's a tough division. You got Jags and Texans and Colts. Uh, um, but it'll be interesting. And I'm a little bit higher on the Titans this year than I was last year. So we'll see how that goes.
They do have Matt LaFleur as their offensive coordinator, who was the offensive coordinator for the Rams last year.
Nice.
And then for their defensive coordinator, they've got Dean Pease, who was the Ravens defensive coordinator for the last 5 or 6 years. So
yeah.
While Vrabel is a new head coach, he does have some really good coordinators around him that should be able to help maintain a stout defense they had last year and also hopefully improve the quarterback play that they get out of Mariota this year.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be an interesting division to watch for sure. I think that we all have the Colts bringing up the bottom of this division with Andrew Luck healthy and back. Stoyo, where do you have the Colts at?
I have the Colts in third. I had the Jags in last place.
Wow.
I have the Colts going 8-8 with Andrew Luck coming back. I like some of the moves that they made this offseason. I'm a huge fan of them drafting Quentin Nelson at 6.
Mm-hmm.
Their GM said it was the easiest draft pick that he ever could.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you can protect your star QB, that's what you want to have.
Yeah, nice to see them address the line. It would also be nice to see the owner not going around telling people that Andrew Luck's rehab and injury was in his head. That's got to be concerning. I have the Colts going 6-10 this year. I was high on the Colts last year if Luck was going to come back, and then he kept getting bumped back, and then he missed the entire year. With him having this long of a rehab, this long without throwing a football, and the owner saying that this injury was in his head, I'm a little bit worried about Andrew Luck, and it's going to take me a couple weeks to see if he's the same quarterback that he used to be. What do you think about the Colts this year, Gavin?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I have them going 5-11 this year and going 4th. And a lot of that revolves around Andrew Luck and his health and how long it takes for him to shake all the rust off. He's been out for over a year now. Apparently, just recently started throwing a regulation-sized football. But on top of that, the weapons he has around him are not that great. They do have some better protection. Anthony Costanzo's been a really good bookend there on the blind side. And Quentin Nelson, obviously, is a great draft pick. But then other weapons, you've got T.Y. Hilton, who's a great receiver. And then your number 2 receiver at this point is Ryan Grant. And then your tight end is Eric Ebron. I know that he's not a great tight end. So you do have better protection for him, but you have fewer weapons for him. Marlon Mack's possibly going to be the starting running back, and maybe he's just been held back by some bad line play. But on top of the lack of offensive weapons for Luck, you also have a defense that's going to be switching to a whole new scheme. They're going to be switching from the 3-4 to the 4-3. They're losing their best defensive lineman in Jonathan Hankins because he doesn't fit the scheme anymore. So you've got Jabal Sheard at the end, who's he's a good pass rusher, but outside of that, they're hoping that Darius Leonard's going to be a good linebacker they took in the second round, and then leaning on Malik Hooker, the safety they took last year, to continue to be a strong player since they lost their best quarterback to free agency this year and didn't replace him with anyone of his same caliber.
Yeah.
You'll get in trouble when you lean on the hooker.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this. I always say that when a team starts going south, you look at it starts at the top. It starts at ownership and works its way down. And Jim Irsay, you got to do better than this. You can't be putting out headlines saying that this injury is in your star quarterback's head. You traded you cut Peyton Manning in order to get this guy and rebuild around him, and then you're out telling, saying around people within earshot that an injury's in his head. I mean, if the injury wasn't in Andrew Luck's head to begin with, it could be now. And that worries me. And so I expect better out of you, Jim Irsay, and it'll be an interesting year in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Field. Let's move to the AFC West, another interesting division this year. Stoyo, who do you have winning the AFC West?
I have the Raiders going 10-6.
The Oakland Raiders, 10-6. Nice.
Gruden somehow gets it together.
Mm-hmm.
Even though some of the moves that he's made recently have been pretty questionable for me, but since I've been backing Gruden coming back to the Raiders, I have to keep going that way.
Yeah. How important do you think it is that the Raiders and star linebacker Khalil Mack have yet to haven't had contract conversations, haven't really had back-to-back dialogue since February?
I think if they're going to win the West, that's with Mack.
Yeah.
If I'm John Gruden, I would get on the plane and figure out where Khalil Mack is right this moment and have a face-to-face conversation. Because since Gruden signed as a coach, he has not had any contact with Khalil Mack.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you want to win next season, that should be your number one thing that you need to do. So I think that if the Raiders are going to win, they need to have Mack there the entire time.
Yeah, Gavin, what do you make of this? Do you think, John Gruden said recently, he made a comment that the Raiders were not very good defensively last year, and that was with Khalil Mack. Him not having a dialogue with the best player on the defensive side of the ball, if not the entire team, has got to be concerning if you're a Raiders fan.
I'm not sure, because it's not really his job to sign Mack to a new contract. That's the GM's job.
Okay.
It's not a head coach thing. So I don't know that I put that all on Gruden, but this is also the first time that John Gruden's had a head coaching gig in 10 years. So maybe he's forgotten about some of the protocol that needs to happen and the relationship he needs to build with his team, with his players. So that is a little bit concerning, but a lot of the pressure is being put on John Gruden because I think a lot of people don't know who the GM of the Raiders is, so they don't know who that guy with the weird ass hair is. so they don't know who to blame.
Yeah. You talking about Mark Davis? Is he calling the shots? Yeah. So how do you how do you have the Raiders finishing this year?
I have them going 11-5 this year.
Okay.
I have John Gruden once again taking over a good team and taking all the credit for it, just like you did in Tampa Bay.
Whoa.
Oh yeah. We'll get to that in a second. But, I think that Derek Carr. Well, first of all, the Raiders last year were plagued with injuries. They had injuries to Derek Carr, injuries to Mari Cooper, injuries to Donald Penn, their stud left tackle. And so that all made the offense sputter and made Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree and Derek Carr all not be as productive as they could have been. And despite that, Marshawn Lynch still averaged over 4 yards a carry. I think he still got some gas in the tank. And on top of that, they brought in Greg Olsen, not the tight end from Carolina, but Greg Olsen, the coach, as the offensive coordinator. And if you look at his tenure and where he's been and what those quarterbacks have done, he's been very successful with quarterbacks. He was in Tampa Bay when, I've forgotten his name now. Josh Freeman had a good year. He was in Jacksonville when Blake Bortles had his best year. He was with the Raiders when Carr was a rookie and showed promise. He was the quarterback coach last year of Jared Goff, who everyone in the world had written off. And he helped make that guy look like an all-pro. And now he's the offensive coordinator for Derek Carr. I think he's going to have a great season. And they brought in Jordy Nelson, who for some reason the Packers cut. Amari Cooper's still there. Jared Cook is a tight end. They drafted offensive linemen to help protect Derek Carr and shore up that O-line. That's still looking solid. Defense is still suspect, but they, again, just like the Mike Vrabel, they brought in coordinators that know what they're doing and have had a history of success. They brought in Paul Gunther, who is the coordinator for the Bengals for the last 4 years, who had a pretty solid defense over that time. So I think that they're going to be able to win their division because of the talent that's on that team and because of some smart coaching decisions that have been made leading up to the season.
Yeah, I agree. I have the Raiders winning the division and going 11-5. I expect big things out of Oakland this year. Even, with the Khalil Mack problems, I hope they get that figured out though, and he gets on the field or gets his extension. I like their draft. I like Colton Miller, tackle, picked at number 15. I've heard good things about him already in training camp. Arden Key, who fell in the draft to pick 87, defensive end out of LSU. He could be a real good fit there. And then they took a flyer on defensive tackle Maurice Hurst at pick 140 out of Michigan, a guy who was projected to go a lot higher and then had the heart issue and fell. But, I mean, if all signs are good for him, that could be a great fit. Like you said, Jordy Nelson at receiver, Martavis Bryant, running back Doug Martin. And how do you feel about linebacker Tahir Whitehead going to Oakland? Gavin?
I'm pretty bummed about that. He wasn't the best linebacker, but I felt like he was pretty solid. And that's something that the Lions have struggled to hold on to for the majority of my lifetime. And so it's a shame to see someone that was relatively good and relatively versatile go to another team.
Yeah. Yep. So
Christian Jones, which I think will do just fine in replacing him. I wish the Bears would have kept him, but the Lions were able to re-sign him or sign him.
Yeah. Put me down on the Christian Jones fan. Stoyo, who do you have finishing second? You got the Raiders winning it. Who do you have finishing second in the AFC West?
I have the Chiefs going 9-7 for second place.
Okay.
Mahomes is going to struggle a little bit, and I think KC could miss the playoffs because of that. I think that Kansas City should have held on to Smith for another season, and Mahomes would have really benefited to sit behind Smith for another season.
I agree.
Call me old school, but if Aaron Rodgers could sit for 4 years, why can't Mahomes sit for 2? So,
yeah. I agree. I agree completely. Like, there's nothing wrong. I mean, you're talking about Alex Smith coming off an MVP type season and, making the playoffs and, having a real good core. And then you just get rid of them and put the whole ball in Patrick Mahomes' court. It puts a lot of pressure on a young quarterback. How do you feel about the Chiefs this year, Gavin?
I actually have them going third in the division at 8-8 this year. I think there's big question marks around Patrick Mahomes. I know Andy Reid is a QB guru and has gotten the best out of quarterbacks that people hadn't thought highly of before he got a hold of them. But I think that the big issue with the Chiefs this year is going to be the defense. They do get Eric Berry back, which is going to be huge. And while they did lose Marcus Peters, they do get Kendall Fuller in the trade for Alex Smith. So you have to factor that into the value of Alex Smith and whether he was worth holding on to if you had to start a brand new person at cornerback, not at the level of Marcus Peters or Kendall Fuller. But on top of that, they lost a lot of really important guys on their defense. Tom Bahali is gone now. Derek Johnson's gone. Benny Logan's gone. Terrence Mitchell, another cornerback, is also gone. And they didn't really find great replacements for those guys outside of Kendall Fuller, who I would say would be closest to Marcus Peters on that list. So outside of Justin Houston, they don't have a pass rusher that has really shown that they can get it done. Dee Ford and Frank Zombo haven't really gotten it done over the time that they've been there. So I think their defense is going to suffer with those losses, and then add that to their essentially a rookie quarterback starting. I'd have them going 8-8.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I have the Chiefs finishing third, tied for the bottom of the division at 7-9. I think they put a lot of pressure on Mahomes this year. They expect big things out of him, but we all know it's a big learning curve in the NFL level. And when you're the man, for going into the season week 1, there's a lot of pressure. So we'll see how Mahomes responds to it. I agree they took some setbacks defensively, but I do like draft pick Breland Speaks out of, I believe, Mississippi State. He's a linebacker DN type, a lot like those guys that you mentioned that are gone now, and I think Breland Speaks can really fit in and take off right from the get-go. So hopefully he has a good year. Also, I like safety Armani Watts out of Texas A&M at safety. He could be a good fit. Kendall Fuller he's a solid pickup. You lose Marcus Peters, but if you can replace him with Kendall Fuller, that's not bad. Also linebacker Anthony Hitchens, wide receiver Sammy Watkins. So we'll see what the Chiefs do, but yeah, I got them not having a great year, going 7-9. Gavin, who do you have finish? Where do you have the LA Chargers going this year?
I have them going second this year at 9-7.
Mm-hmm.
They shored up their offensive line a little bit, bringing in Mike Pouncey at center, and they also will hopefully have a healthy Russell Okung and Joseph Barksdale and Forrest Lamp. Again, they had so many injuries last year, and they still went 9-7. So actually, I guess I don't have them improving, but I think of them actually as a better team compared to last year, given who they lost and who they gained. You've got Rivers, I think he's 36 or so he's a little bit older, but you've got better protection for him now. Another year from Melvin Gordon. Mike Williams, the receiver from Clemson, that will hopefully be healthy and be able to play this year. And then you've got another year of Joey Bosa being dominant at defensive end position. They've got Casey Hayward and Trevor Williams, Desmond King, some really solid cornerbacks, and they're missing Jason Verrett.
Yeah.
Probably their second best cornerback. It's plagued by injury, and then Hunter Henry, you're supposed to have a breakout year now that Antonio Gates is gone, but he is also hurt. But they also were able to address a major need at safety in the draft this year. Somehow Derwin James fell to them. So a big grab for them, I think, and can definitely help shore up the defense that's led by Gus Bradley, the defensive coordinator that helped put together the stout Seattle defense that was dominant for so long. So they've got talent, they've got the leadership. I think they can be a really strong defense, and Philip Rivers has always led a solid offense.
Yeah, I expect good things out of the Chargers this year. I'm thinking they're going to get out to a real hot start and then maybe fade a little bit towards the end, but maybe it'll be enough to get them into the playoffs. I know, Stoyo, you weren't as high on Derwin James coming into the draft, but get on the bandwagon now. I'm a big believer in Derwin James. I think he's going to have a big year. So I think the Chargers are going to be a formidable team in that division.
if they can stop getting hurt.
Yeah, I mean, last year they draft Mike Williams super high, and he gets hurt in camp. And this year, Hunter Henry and Jason Verrett, those are killer injuries. And you feel for the Chargers a little bit. Let's talk about Stoyo. What do you think of the Denver Broncos this year?
I also would like to say what I thought about the Chargers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you didn't talk about them? What do you got the Chargers doing?
I had the Chargers going 8-8, unfortunately for them, because they have the talent to go even better. But unfortunately, as you guys have said, those injuries are just so huge.
Yeah.
And losing your star tight end is really hard to overcome, especially when you have like an older QB who does not have that many years left. So that's unfortunate. But they do have Keenan Allen, which he can do a lot of damage. And that defense, with being led by Bosa, should be pretty well. But that division is also tough.
Mm-hmm.
So I have them at 8-8.
Yeah, I got the LA Chargers going 9-7, finishing second in the division. We'll see if that'll be enough to get them into the playoffs. But they should be fun to watch, and I agree. Keenan Allen is an absolute beast out there, tough to defend. But the injuries do hurt, and hopefully they can get through preseason and the rest of camp without too many more major injuries. I have the Broncos tied for last in the division, finishing 7-9. I know they addressed their defense in the draft and are going to be formidable once again, but I think that Case Keenum really had like the perfect fit in Minnesota with all those weapons and a great defense there, and I think that he's going to struggle a little bit in Denver, getting the same success that he had in Minnesota. So I got the Broncos going 7-9. How do you feel about that, Gavin?
I have them going 8-8 this year. The big questions are going to be about who is Case Keenum? Like which guy are we going to get? The one that couldn't beat out Nick Foles in St. Louis, or the one that almost led the Vikings to a Super Bowl last year? He does have some talent around him. Receivers Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders have been effective receivers in the past, but Thomas is a little bit older. Sanders keeps getting hurt, and I think the front office saw that because they drafted Courtland Sutton in the second round this year to try and help shore up their receiver position. They also lost C.J. Anderson, their top running back, to the Panthers this year, so they're going to lean on either Devontae Booker or rookie Royce Freeman out of Oregon to help carry the load there. But they did improve their offensive line a little bit, bringing in Jared Veldheer to play tackle. So he should actually have better protection than he had in Minnesota. But I think that the weapons around him are not going to be as good. But that the defense is the pass rush is amazing. You got Von Miller and now Bradley Chubb, who somehow fell to the 5th pick or 6th pick, wherever they were at. Had to have been as easy as the Quentin Nelson pick. They've got some stout cornerbacks in Tremaine Brock, Chris Harris, and Bradley Roby, but I think they're still going to struggle to defend the run. Didn't really improve their line at all. In fact, one of their stars from last year, Alden Gotsis, is facing some rape allegations right now, so he may not even be able to play much, if any, of the season. So that could be a blow for them in an area that they're already relatively weak at. But they also picked up often overlooked, but Marquette King, a punter who was in Oakland, who is one of the better punters in the league. So if they struggle on offense, they should be able to pin the opposing team deep and let Von Miller and Bradley Chubb get at them.
Yeah, another guy that I would mention that I'm interested to see what he does in the next level is tight end Troy Fumagalli out of, I believe, Wisconsin. He's very talented, so if he can make the roster and make an impact, that'd be cool to see. But the Broncos, they have some question marks at defense. It's going to be nasty in the front four. We'll see how good they are, in the secondary and stuff like that. But hopefully for Bronco fans, Case Keenum can have a good year. How do you feel about the Broncos this year, Stoyo?
I have them going 9-7. Gavin, and gonna be interested to watch how Case Keenum is gonna do. But I think slightly higher up than you guys do.
Yeah.
And I think he is going to be going to become like the perfect game manager like Josh McCown, but slightly better. And I hope that he's gonna be a starting QB for a few years. But for me, having Bradley Chubb and Von Miller is just gonna be so insane to defend against, and it will just give like your defense such an advantage pretty much on any down. So I'm gonna be watching a lot of Broncos games this season.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to it, but they do have a lot of question marks. So unfortunately, they're probably gonna miss the playoffs at 9-7.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, we saw it just last year. Case Keenum's ceiling and the Broncos' ceiling could be pretty high, 10-6, 11-5 with that defense, and if he has a good year. And like Gavin said, he has weapons. So we'll see if it all fits right. Could be a good year in Denver. Stoyo, all right, so that's going to do it for the AFC predictions. Next week we'll be doing the NFC, and can't wait for the games to start. Thursday night we have Bears and Ravens Hall of Fame game. Looking forward to some football. Speaking of that, Stoyo, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about this. Bears rookie linebacker Roquan Smith, who we were so high on, picked at 7. He's the last remaining draft pick without a deal and has yet to show up to training camp. The problem is Smith's camp is worried about the Bears taking away guaranteed money if he gets suspended for the new helmet rule that no one really understands. I heard someone said that some members of the NFL went and tried to explain it to the Eagles, the new helmet rule, and they said that players came out of that meeting understanding the new rule even less. So it's very concerning, and this leads me to say, what the hell are the Bears doing? They're that worried. Like, I guarantee there's going to be some issues with this new rule where a player gets suspended, and I don't blame Roquan Smith one bit for wanting to protect his guaranteed money. And it really frustrates me as a Bears fan to see him missing valuable training camp time. What do you think, Stoyo?
I think guaranteed money should be just what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Guaranteed money. You should not have to give any of the money back for stuff that you're doing on the field. If you have off-the-field issues, I can understand returning some of the guaranteed money. But to have your guaranteed money taken because you tackled someone, that is not what you want to happen.
Yeah.
And especially when you drafted him. Don't you want your stud linebacker to have a clear mind when he's out there and not have to worry, oh, am I going to hit this guy too hard? Is this guy cost me $100K? This is his rookie contract. Like, you've been dreaming about this since you've been a child, and now you finally made it. And don't let a team try to steal your money that you hardly earned. Maybe the Bears should be a little bit more worried where to spend their money. For example, giving Deion Smith $6 million to play this season.
Yeah.
That is a lot of wasted money right there. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think that the Bears put themselves in a bad situation, and they need to agree to this contract fast. And Roquan needs to keep holding out because I have zero issue with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on the player's side. I mean, we've been talking about this ever since it broke. No one understands this new helmet rule. No one understands the drastic measures that the NFL is going to go, that the referees are going to go to instill this rule or to promote safety. And if you're a rookie coming into this league, you made your career on hard hits and being an enforcer at the college level at Georgia. So you're coming into the NFL and you see your guaranteed money being threatened because of a new rule that nobody understands, hell yeah, I'm going to sit it out. I want some kind of guarantee that they're not just going to take that from me who knows who's going to get suspended after week 1 because of a hit, or suspended in preseason because of this new helmet rule. Gavin, what do you think of this?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think this is going to play a big part in the future of contracts, particularly with some players who are starting to get fully guaranteed contracts. We talked about this a little bit last week, and how teams are after, it was said teams have to be smarter about the contracts that they sign and that sort of thing. And this could be one way of doing it. If you have a guy that you see that has potential of getting, only playing 14 games a year, 12 games a year because they're out because of the style that they play, then if you're only playing 12 games, should you not get paid for playing 12 games?
Yeah.
I think that there's something to be said there. It's the Bears are looking into their investment. Guys like Vontaze Burfict, their contracts are going to be hurt by things like this because they play in a style where they're likely to get suspended. And so if you're looking at, I want this guy on my team, but he's probably going to miss a couple games because of some hits or something like that, then you shouldn't give him a contract that's going to be for 16 games because you're not expecting him to be there.
Yeah.
I disagree.
What are you saying, Stoyo?
I disagree because I think that regardless how many games you do play, you should be paid for the entire season. If you get hurt, does that mean you're not supposed to get paid at all?
Yeah, I don't understand it, and it makes the Bears look bad, in my opinion. You drafted this guy knowing full well what he brought to the table. He's a hard-hitting linebacker. He's supposed to bring back toughness to a defense that's lacked toughness for a couple years. And you bring this guy in, and then you don't want to give him his fully guaranteed money. You want to hold that from him because of a rule that nobody understands. It really makes me mad. I'm a diehard Bears fan, and I'm tired of us looking like not a destination for these top free agents because we don't treat them right or we're not going to take care of them. And so go ahead.
Does the contract specifically list out that rule, or does it just say if you are suspended games, you will miss out on this much of your guaranteed money per game?
I'm pretty sure it encompasses. Yeah, I'm sure the language is that encompasses all NFL suspensions. But when you got a brand. But when you got a brand new rule that nobody understands, you have to take that into consideration.
Oh, definitely. But if they don't list that rule out specifically, is this something that's been in contracts before? I've never signed an NFL contract, so I can't say for sure. But this could be something that's been in contracts before, and it's been they just copy paste from last year's draft and they put it in there.
Yeah.
But he had the foresight to say, hold on a second, what's with this new tackling rule? I can see this being a problem for me, and that's why it's being brought up.
Absolutely. What's that stuff?
A new language because of the new rule that happened. His agent is the same agent that represented Joey Bosa when he held out a few years ago. So this agent is well known for having players holding out. But apparently there's also other issues, not just the helmet issue. There's also a behavioral clause that's also holding up the deal. So this late into the offseason, the Bears are still struggling to sign their first-round pick, which is concerning to me, especially who that is.
Yeah.
Because you want Roquan Smith to be nasty out there. Don't you want your stud linebacker to have the edge with him? You don't need him to worry about, am I going to be fine? You want him to go out there and just dominate. And I don't think the Bears are putting him in the best situation to do that.
Absolutely.
You don't want him to just go out there and dominate if that means he gets suspended for 2 games this season. You don't want him to do that.
Yeah, but at this point, I don't know if you're just going to go out there and make a tackle and get suspended for it. At this point, I have no clue what this new rule is going to entail. So if you're a player that doesn't understand it either, why would you even risk that? This is Roquan's been playing for free at Georgia at college for years. Now this is his chance to get his money. I don't blame him one bit for taking a long, hard look at that contract and being like, I want to get the most out of it, and I don't want to get punished for something that I don't even understand.
Football is the highest grossing sports in the world, and yet they get paid the least amount of money. And now owners are going after their guaranteed money for on-field actions.
Yeah.
That is beyond ridiculous to me.
And so
You should check out hockey contracts. They're not quite as high as NFL ones, but continue.
That's true. Well, so what we're going to get is we have a primetime Hall of Fame game coming up, and this is going to be the top story. This is going to be all that's talked about is Roquan Smith's deal, Roquan Smith not being there. Great. Let's piss a player off before he ever signs a contract with us, especially when he's supposed to, lead the defense and bring back the toughness that we've been lacking. So, I don't know. Pisses me off. I hope we figure it out.
I like it.
Of course you like it.
Keep those Bears down. Bears down.
Falcons and star left tackle Jake Matthews agree to a 5-year, $75 million deal, making him top 3 paid left tackle. He might be even higher, except for Titans give their left tackle Taylor Lewan, former Michigan product, a 5-year, $80 million extension that includes $50 million guaranteed. Titans taking care of one of their own, making him the richest O-lineman in NFL history. This has got to be a good deal. You got to like this one, Gavin.
Absolutely. Offensive tackle, the blindside protector, is one of the top 3 positions of importance in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So when you find a guy that's an all-pro caliber, Pro Bowl guy, you got to keep him on your team, especially when you have a quality quarterback, or like the Falcons do, or a young quarterback that you're hoping to continue grooming like the Titans do.
Yeah, absolutely. Stoyo, I'll give you the last word on that. Do you have anything you want to add? Frustrations with this Roquan stuff?
Yeah, Gavin just said that I should check hockey average salary, and the average salary for the NHL is $3.47 million, while the average for an NFL player, or the highest average, is $2.9 million for the Oakland Raiders. So I would say that, yeah, the NFL players should get paid way more than they are getting paid, especially with how much owners are making. So Roquan, hold out. You should not be suspended for any play, or you should not be docked pay for what happened on the field.
Yeah, and the NFL makes so much money. The NFL is making tons of money every year. They can afford to pay their players. They can afford to take care of these guys on and off the field, and the owners can stop being greedy. And on top of that, passing rules that don't make any sense. Hopefully it's not a big deal come week 1. We'll see. I'm not sold on it, but we'll see going forward. But thanks, guys. Another successful week. We've got the AFC predicted, and so can't wait. We'll do the NFC next week, and thanks for coming on, guys.
Yep.
Alex Ovechkin, 13-year, $124 million contract, not even comparable to a top-tier NFL contract. Just gonna throw that out there as my
as your ending. All right. So we'll get back on it next week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or leave a comment. And stay tuned. Thanks, guys. Peace out.